What's happening, everybody? I'm Steve, and welcome back to Junkdrummer TV, where I give my initial reactions, my hot takes, and my analysis on the drummers of today and yesterday, and maybe tomorrow if I stick around that long. If we all stick around that long. Up until 4 weeks ago, I was a professional drum teacher and a gigging musician, and I was those things for 20 plus years. So let's all break out our guy liner because we're not okay, I promise. We're going to be watching Bob Bryar of My Chemical Romance play Welcome to the Black Parade. Now look, I'm never going to lie to you on this channel. When emo was taking over the world, I was knee deep and acid deep in the jam band scene, so it was just a thing that was happening on the periphery. But that was around the time when my teaching practice had started to grow, and I ended up teaching a lot of that genre's song. No other song from that era was requested more than Welcome to the Black Parade. Look, man, you know, I'm 43 next month. I was not into the emo scene. I just thought it was just like punk rock with like dyed black hair, so like it didn't offend me at all. But one of the lessons I think that will come from this video is, even if you're not into a genre or you're not into a band, you can learn something from that band instrumentally. So keep an open mind. Before we start the video, I would like to thank my newest patron, Brian Nicastro. Thank you very much. And everyone, remember to please check out my Patreon, and also please check out my merch page. So this video is very old. This is from the beginnings of YouTube. This is from 2008. This is an isolated drum playthrough from, it looks like it was Rhythm Magazine. I'm not even sure if Rhythm Magazine is still around. So the audio quality is not the greatest, but as I've said on all of my quarantine videos, this is number 10 of the quarantine video series. I actually need to make sure that I do videos that get monetized, because unfortunately I am depending on the income from YouTube, which is not a thing that I ever thought I would have to do. So let's get into Bob Bryar of My Chemical Romance playing Welcome to the Black Parade. This episode goes out to my student Tanya. She's been studying with me for probably 8 or 9 years. This is like one of her favorite bands, and she's always ashamed of it. Everyone, please stick around for the end of the video, because I'm going to do a long rant about attaching your band or your art to a fad. So again, you know, this is just the drums isolated. You're gonna have to kind of know this song, but I mean, this song was a big song. It was everywhere. Is this like 05, 06, 07, somewhere in there? So, all you drum teachers out there, you've had to teach this. This beginning part, you know, it's the Black Parade. He's trying to sound like a marching drummer, and he's even playing on an old school, you know, field drum. That part is just a bolero. It's a bolero. He's doing some other roughs and double strokes in there, but the bass line rhythm that he's doing, let's talk about that. Here's some education time, kids. The bass line part that he's playing there is a sextuplety thing. It's that is Ravel's bolero. That's a good example of being aware of any kind of music. You never know when you're going to be influenced by something. Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, that song was influenced by Gustav Holst's Mars. This is a drum part that I don't know if he did it on purpose, but it is definitely lifted from Ravel's bolero. When I teach this rhythm or this kind of sextuplety thing, I always tell my students, you know, if you've heard the Darth Vader march, you've heard it. Right? It's that. You would never think that a guy in an emo band would be named Bob. So these are the drum fills that inspired a generation of kids who grew up in the aughts to play drums. Okay, so there is a Herta, which is a big time marching band a lick. It's the drum fill that is most associated with Carter Beauford. This is a triplet version of the Herta. I know where I'm from, some people call it Herta. Probably Herta is the right way to play it, or right way to say it. What's going on there? This is all triplet based, right? So we're thinking in 12/8. 1 lolly, 2 lolly, 3 lolly, 4 lolly, 1. So on the 1 of each one of those, 1 lolly, 2 lolly, 3 lolly, 4 lolly, we're going to play 2 16th notes. He doesn't do it in line like that. The last lick he just played there was 1, 2, 3 lolly, 4 lolly, 1. That is a great drum fill. The other way that I explained it was in the Carter Beauford video, and that was him playing the Herta in 16th notes. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a, 1. And that kind of makes it feel a little polyrhythmic. This is a little more straight. The Herta is on the 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 lolly, 2 lolly, 3 lolly, 4 lolly, 1. I've got a buddy who is a DJ, and he is violently opposed to everything My Chemical Romance. So right here, the song turns into just a punk rock groove. Now, if you were to just listen to the drum part, you wouldn't say, "Oh, this is an emo song." You'd think, "Oh, yeah, it's just a punk rock song." Emo was a weird label. I think it's the first. Hello. I'm gonna finish that thought. I want to bring this back. He's doing a little kind of an advanced technique on the bass drum. This is where I need to expand my camera setup so you can see what I'm doing down here on my bass drum. I'm going to explain it up here. He's doing this thing where it basically is kind of like a double stroke on the bass drum. Like he's starting, like if this is the bass drum pedal, he's starting here and he's moving up. And he's doing this like bounce. Did it, right? That is kind of an advanced move, and if you can do that move, this isn't the swivel technique and a lot of those like toe heel techniques that people are doing now. I don't really know about, but I know about this technique because I use it a lot. If you can use that technique and you're going you're impacting here with your bass drum and you're slipping up to the next part, you can really play a lot faster. Like, check out this move he's doing right here. See how he's impacting here and coming up there? That makes it easier to play breakneck tempo. I would guess this guy was in marching band. He's got really relaxed, good technique. Playing that little offbeat off that drum fill. This is an example of, until you put music on top of a drum groove, it could be any song. That's why I hate when people say, "Oh, this is a punk rock groove." It could be a bluegrass groove or a country groove too. That groove doesn't exist until you put some music on top of it. This guy's really solid drummer. Like any of those drum fills that come off. This has to be the part of carry on part. I wonder if this was recorded in Now notice he's keeping the motif. Yeah, like right here, he's making that part even more marching band. He's putting some diddles and roughs and flams in there. Man, I say it all the time. If you want to be a really good drum set player, and if you want to take a shortcut, be in marching band, because your hands are going to work better, and you're going to also come up with some stuff like this. Like, didn't the band wear marching band, like gothic marching band shirts? We're going to hear that Herta again, I think. It's just good, you know, double time groove. That's one of the best drum fills he's played in this whole thing. Halftime emo breakdown. We're going to address that emo label at the end of this video. Back to the original tempo of that bolero. This has to be a live show because there's lighting and stuff going on. I really want that field drum. So, Bob Bryar, My Chemical Romance, welcome to the Black Parade. Good example of listening to everything because you never know what you're going to be influenced by and how you can make some new art based on other people's art. So, here is my rant about fads. And I've given this rant a few times to students. The reason why AC/DC will always live is because they've played and been honest to their art through every fad. They started in, what, 72, 3, 4? You know, classic rock, disco, punk rock, 80s new wave, 90s grunge, new metal. They've lived through all of that because they've not attached what they play to a fad. Here's the problem with all those emo bands. You think like Taking Back Sunday, Panic at the Disco. Look, I'm a big Panic at the Disco fan. I think Brandon Urie is a genius. That record, Pretty Odd, is like a top 20 record for me. They're amazing. My Chemical Romance, and of course, you know, Fall Out Boy. Man, I'm not offended by Fall Out Boy either. That guy's voice is pretty cool. Here's the problem with that scene. Yes, for a very short amount of time, they were the biggest bands in the world. But eventually, fads, things that are popular, become unpopular and gauche. And when that happens, because you've attached your music to that brand of fad, you fall out of favor in a public sense, and it might not even be your fault. You might be making the best music that you've ever made, but because that fad is now a joke, no one's listening to it. So all you writers out there and you bands out there, don't chase what's cool right now. If you're a band that's starting and you're trying to sound like whatever band that's big right now, if you're a band out there and you're trying to sound like 21 Pilots, you are behind. Because by the time you break, the 21 Pilots will be gone. And yes, they're going to be gone eventually because all bands go away unless you're the Rolling Stones or AC/DC. If you are trying to chase a fad right now, by the time you break, you are going to be behind. Always be forward thinking. And here's the thing about that emo label. It was just emo, that label. I was trying to say this earlier. The word emo really just was like talking about their lyrical content, and that has to be the only kind of music that was labeled by their lyrical content. I always thought that was weird when like my students would come in and they would have like the brushed forward hair, you know, that hairstyle, what looked like the hair was trying to arrive before the person was, and they'd be like, you know, I love emo, and they'd flip their hair to the side. I'm like, I mean, like, The Cure is way more emotional than any of this shit. Like, you know, they were, you know, I guess goth was early emo. Don't attach your music and your art to a fad because you are guaranteeing an expiration date. Be bold. Try to make your own way. You know, I became a Death Grips fan through this channel. Death Grips are not chasing any fad at all. Go find me anyone that sounds like them. So, My Chemical Romance, Tanya, there you go. We're going to finish this song up next week. Again, it doesn't offend me. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'm a fucking My Chemical Romance fan, because I am not. I know the songs that that students brought in for me to teach them, and I always thought just like, oh man, this is just like wussier punk rock, right? This song is a little more involved because it's basically two different songs put together with that first marching part and the straight ahead punk rock thing that happens after that. Bob Bryar, you're not with that band anymore. So many bands don't care to keep their original drummer. We get no respect. But if you want to get in a band and you want to keep that respect, you need to keep practicing until it's easy.